It's that time of the year again, 2026, when South Africa is going to get a new National Director of Public Prosecutions, or the head of the National Prosecuting Authority. Since the term contract of the current one, Advocate Batoyi, is coming to an end, and it has already started. The process has already started. It's chaired by Constitutional Court and Justice Minister Mameloko Kubai to get South Africa a new National Director of Public Prosecutions, which is a very, very difficult position because in most cases, politicians want their own person there because that's the person that decides whether a case goes to trial or it doesn't. So Shamila Batoyi's term has been characterized by a lot of cases not going to trial that everybody else thought the evidence was overwhelming. And as she appeared before the ad hoc committee some couple of weeks ago, it really showed why. I will venture to say she is not the most incompetent NDPP we ever had, but she is amongst those that are incompetent because we have not seen the wheels of justice grinding at the time. You come in as NDPP at a time that the Senzo Mewa trial is ongoing and you leave and the trial is still ongoing, nothing has happened. You come in, there's an issue of Pala where the president is reported, not alleged, I say reported because the case was opened, to have kept more money, a lot of money, under the couch when he was supposed to do that, and the public protector does all in the power to block any public interest investigation, and Advocate Batoyi as well, with the case having been opened by Fraser, the former State Security Agency head, Fraser. That case didn't go anywhere else. So we can say her term was characterized by a lot of doing the bidding for the people who put her there, because you must understand the process of electing and of getting a new NDPP is a process that really gets kick-started by the president. And after that, the president is the one who has to say, yeah, no, this is the person that's right. So now I've got 6 candidates. I know all the 6, their names and what they've done, some of them internationally, some of them in the Western Cape, some of them in other capacities. But my interest lies really in 2 of those names, the people that I believe should not be NDPP, but which I believe, given their complicity, one of them really stands a better chance. I think Advocate Andrea Johnson, the head of IDEC, is the one who stands a better chance of being appointed there, even though before the Parliamentary Ad hoc Committee, chaired by Soviet Lekhanyani, she did really expose herself to not really be an ethical person when it comes to understanding conflict of interest and beyond that, because there are that's the part that you know, but there are probably many parts, like she couldn't explain her organization's interest in arresting somebody for a labor-related matter when the institution, the IDEC, was created to fight corruption, actually to start the prosecution of the Zondo Commission cases, which it has not really been keen to do, but it has been busy meddling in issues of labor at the SAPS. Now, I'm just going to put my focus on 2 because I'm going to be very critical. I'm not going to prescribe who should be the NDPP. I have my ideas on who should do it. But you know, we live in a post-apartheid South Africa. We live in a country that is, unfortunately, and I say this with a very heavy heart, it's still a country that looks at people through the prism of race, and it looks at people through the prism of tribe. And at the end of the day, it is so unexpected. I say this, it is so unexpected that in the near future, we'll see some of the state's biggest institutions being led by people of a different, or by white people, let me just put it bluntly, by white people. So we have candidates, we have 3 of 6 candidates who are white people, and we have 1 black woman. We have 1 black woman, we have Andrea Johnson, colored or Indian, I don't know. I'm not very much about that. I can't tell. You know, like I said in previous posts, that I'm one of those people who can't tell who's a Jew and who's Arab and who's English and who's German until somebody opens their mouth. So I'm not into racial profiling, but I don't know much. But I know a black person when I see one. Look, the one that I'll really vehemently say he should not even be considered is Advocate Menzi Simelane. I mean, the guy has been dogged by trouble. And for those who don't know, who might think I'm playing the race card, in 2007, when the ANC went to that watershed conference in Polokwane, and they decided that they were going to dissolve the Scorpions then, the Directorate for Special Operations, which was an independent structure reporting attached to the NPA, or it was IDEC before they thought of an IDEC they can control. Menzi Simelane was, if I remember correctly, if I'm correct, I'm likely correct, Director General of the Department of Justice. And one of the things that was said at the time, at that point, after Polokwane, after the resolution was adopted by the Polokwane lynch mob, the group of Jacob Zuma and others, legal experts came out and said, look, the time frame that has been put for the dissolution of the Scorpions, which was a year, it is impossible to do that because you must dismantle institutions, you must dismantle many. It's a legislative issue, you must go to Parliament and dismantle the act because it was something that has been already been codified in the legal framework of South Africa, in the legal framework of the country, and they said you can't do it in a year. You can't dissolve it because the ANC wanted it dissolved before Jacob Zuma became president in 2009. 2007, end of 2007, he wins in Polokwane. Now we come back 2009, 2008. Kgalema Motlanthe was going to come in after Thabo Mbeki was kicked out. And for that term, for that short spell, they wanted to make sure that when Jacob Zuma becomes president, there's nothing called the Scorpions, because it would have looked like serious abuse of power to dissolve the unit that really was investigating him. So the one person who said, no, it can be done. No, don't worry. Don't worry about it. It can be done in 6 months or in a year, was Advocate Menzi Simelane. And he worked hard. It's not me saying it. You can go search. You can go find more info. He worked very, very hard to make sure that the Scorpions are dissolved in record time. There were legal challenges to it. People trying, some South Africans, patriotic ones, trying very hard to stop the dissolution of the Scorpion. They went to court. They spent so much money, their own money, trying to stop that. But because Simelane said, this can be done, and he was saying it from the comfort of working for the Justice Department, it was done. The Scorpions were dissolved. And we all know, before the Scorpions were established in 2000, there was corruption in South Africa. And we know that some corrupt people were arrested because the Scorpions could operate they were operating outside of the SAPS. We know people went to jail. At some stage, to avoid people going to jail, the NPA, the custodian of the Scorpions, would cut deals. You remember the travel gate scandal of ANC MPs. The NPA is the one that cut a deal with them before the Scorpions could pounce and arrest them. We know the issue of the coup, the attempted coup in Equatorial Guinea, Simelane coup, that Andrew Thatcher, the son of the late Margaret Thatcher, of the racist Margaret Thatcher, was arrested in Cape Town. And the NPA is the one that gave him a slap on the wrist, cut a deal so that he could be out of the country before he could be deported to Zimbabwe, where his mercenaries were arrested, they were detained. So the NPA at the time, under whoever, you can start thinking about the NPA from the time of Buleleni Ngcuka, come through to Vusi Pikoli, and up to the point where it was just really messed up with those other people who came up during Jacob Zuma's time that messed up the NPA, Mkhwebi, Nomqobo Jiba, and others. But the NPA has always been an organization that has been doing the bidding for politicians. And now, Menzi Simelane said, look, the Scorpions can be dissolved. And the Scorpions were dissolved. And after the Scorpions, if you are a very rational person, you'll really notice that corruption went high. The Scorpions could arrest Jackie Silibi, the Commissioner of Police for SAPS, for corruption, and end up serving time to show that they were right in their evidence. But you find that they were really tainted by a lot of things, deliberately so not. Leonard McCarthy being one of those that actually started giving the Scorpions the functions of collecting intelligence when they were not authorized to collect intelligence, and they started meddling in political affairs. I call it meddling Because when you have to sit and decide, do we charge this person before or after a conference, that's political meddling. Those institutions should operate independently. But at the time, there was serious meddling in the Scorpions, there was serious meddling in the NPA, and at the end, Mrs. Miller said it can be done, and it was done. And we know beyond that, we had the Guptas, 2009, we had the Guptas, we had state capture, billions of rands fled. Now, Cyril Ramaphosa came into power. We had the COVID looting of the fund. We had Pala. We had lots and lots of other things that were done because there is no independent police structures doing it. And then Cyril Ramaphosa decides, oh, I'm going to set up IDEC, maybe, I don't know, but not for himself, for others, maybe to deal with others. But IDEC is still in the NPA. IDEC is still not independent as of seen. So Menzi Simelane out, he contributed to the collapse of the justice system in South Africa that resulted in state capture. So giving him the NPA, it will just be ruining it. Because if he's as good an advocate as he claims to be, when the wheels of fortune turned and he was no longer in power, he should have just gone into private practice and continued like Bomram Kobo, Jiva and others. They are lawyers, they are advocates, they are in private practice. He should actually have just gone then. Because for some time he had NPA. Menzi Simelane for some time he was acting NDPP there, and we know the chaos that happened there, so he can't go back there. The second person I already say shouldn't be appointed will be Andrea Johnson, Sheriff Andrea Johnson. I called her on a post earlier. She's unethical. To use the language of Matlala, she's unethical. She confessed, she said through the interviews of her husband, Junaid Johnson, when she was in the NPA and Junaid Johnson was appointed to the Scorpions, she said through the interview, but she said she excused herself, which means nothing because her shadow loomed large during the interview. She actually gave advantage. You should go watch the post that I said about Sheriff Andrea Johnson. I explained what was really wrong with her sitting there. And now at IDEC, it's entangled in all these political shenanigans that are happening in the country. And IDEC is an agency of the NPA. So it reports to the NPA, and she's there, she's heading that, and her husband is in crime intelligence, SAPS, and who knows, maybe when she goes to the NPA and there's a position in IDEC, because IDEC also does investigation, the husband might apply and get a job there. So Andrea seems to be one of those people that are keen on using the positions that she occupies to empower family and friends, probably. We don't know about friends, but I can say about family. So putting in the NPA, you'll see the NPA will just become a different animal. I'm quite certain IDEC might be led by, at some stage you might find that Junaid Johnson ends up being at IDEC, and you might find that at the end of the day, NPA has become so ineffective as it is now under Badoy. So I won't recommend that. The others, leave it to the president to do it. Like and subscribe to us ASAP, the second perspective. Let's make the circle bigger and let's make the NPA cleaner.